Hi, and welcome to the Design Find, the podcast. Today we're with Victoria, and she's going to be sharing with us her story in the design field. So welcome, Victoria.
Hello, how are you, Nicole?
Great, how are you?
I'm great, thank you.
So to start, can you just tell the listeners a little bio about yourself, how you started in the design field, where you live, where you lived before, how you got interested, just kind of an all-around story about you?
Sure. So my name is Victoria Benatar. I am an architect. I'm originally from Venezuela, where I studied my undergrad in architecture. I spent 10 years working as an architect there before moving to New York to do a master in urban design at Columbia University, where I graduated. And then since my graduation, I have been staying and living in New York. I'm also a professor at the New School University, and I have my company, Victoria Benatar Architect, and I have another company with a partner, Michelle Chanfayoni, EXD Architecture, that I invite you to visit. It's a new company that we are working on programming for 24 hours, which is very interesting. We have been working on that for the past 5 years. And the pandemic proven that we were on the right track because you need to use your space for 24 hours. So
cool. So to start, I think everyone's very interested how you chose to go to Columbia, what you studied there, and also how is that different to now being on the other side of the university track and being a professor?
Well, I always been fascinated by New York and by Columbia University. You know, I feel Columbia University is a great school. And the good thing about studying urban design here was that we had the city as our lab. Mostly all our assignments were in the city. So it gave me a very good opportunity to understand cities, because to be a good architect, you need to understand cities as well. So that gave me a really good, and I was always, I wanted to improve my education. You know, I graduated in Venezuela as an architect, and I started doing interior design because I was a little hesitant of doing buildings at that time. You know, I wanted to learn a little more about the trade. So I was doing interior design in my practice. And then the opportunity came to go to Columbia. I was accepted. So I was accepted. I mean, I applied originally for architecture, master in architecture. But then I figured that's a little redundant. You know, I'm an architect with a master in architecture. I'd rather learn something different. So I switched my application to urban design, which I really like. You know, I am a very urban oriented person. So I love to discover New York through it's different than when you come as a tourist than when you are studying it. So I learned a lot about that. And being a professor is just part of the same thing. You know, when you're a student, you're learning, and when you're a professor, you're learning too. So I just see it's part of the same learning experience. I need to learn and study in order to teach. And I also learn a lot from my students. My students are very bright, intelligent people. So it's great to be able to be surrounded by young, smart, intelligent people.
And comparing those two schools, and you're teaching and you learned similar programs, could you talk about any similarities and differences between the New School and Columbia? Because, there are some similarities, being in New York, but could you just talk about specifics in terms of what you learn or teach there that might be different depending on the university?
Well, they're two different universities. Columbia University is an Ivy school with a very set program. and or you go to a master in architecture, master in urban design, there is master in real estate. It's very specific. When you go there, it's very specific. Parsons, on the other hand, it's a more open school. So you do a BFA in architecture, but you can interweave with other careers. You can get a double major, double minor. So it's different kinds of school, depending on what you want. You are at Parsons, you are surrounded by art students, by graphic design students, by fashion students. They are different kinds of labs for different kinds of activities. I mean, there are two different schools, two different kinds of education, you know.
And what do you think was really helpful that you learned or were given the tools to learn in university that you still use every day?
Well, you know, I was, as a matter of fact, talking about this with somebody else. Studying in the university, whatever career you decide to use, to choose, allows you to have critical thinking, allow you to have a vision of reality that can be multifaceted. You know, you learn how to research, you learn how to investigate, you learn how to think. And I think this is very positive of any career that you choose. So that I think that's an advantage of receiving an education, that you can, you know, not everybody went to go to school and end up working in what you go to school for, because you have to choose college when you are very young. And it's very hard to know. I mean, I was lucky because I choose architecture. I mean, I choose architecture because in the test in my high school, they told me, I mean, I wanted to be a biologist. You know, this is what I wanted to be. And the test came out that I have a lot of artistic sensibility and also social sensibility. So I really was, how do I put this in biology, right? So then I figured, okay, what is artistic and social? And I said, okay, architecture. I put it like 2 + 2 = 4. I did a math. And, you know, luckily, the test was correct. And I went to architecture school, and I have been doing this since I graduated, you know, for 35 years or so. And I was lucky that this is something that I love and I'm passionate about and I like. But I understand that I was lucky because I chose to study architecture at the age of 17. And at the age of 17, really, you know, it's very hard to choose what you're going to be doing for the rest of your life. So I have seen a lot of cases of students that start a career and then they go to another, or they don't end up doing what they were the school for. And that's because of that, because you're very young. So, but the college education always give you this advantage that you learn critical thinking, you learn how to research, you learn how to put your thoughts in an organized way, you learn how to be articulate when you speak. I mean, there is a series of exercises that you do when you're in college that allows you for all that. And this is very useful and practical throughout your life, whether you work on your career or not.
That's great advice. And that's true. It's crazy that, you know, when you're 17, it could choose the career path for the rest of your life. But because that's the world we live in as of now, and there are a lot of options, is there anything you would say to really test if you're ready or you're willing to be in the architecture field for the rest of your life? Because like talking to me, like I'm 17, like obviously I don't really know what's happening and what's going to happen. And you were also in the same situation. But do you think there are any factors that you thought about that you said, yes, I know I can make it?
Well, you know what? I mean, first of all, when you are in the career, you have to be happy. There is a period during the career that a lot of students have second thoughts. But if you overpass that and you overpass that moment of hesitation, because it's normal, this is a really major decision that you're making. So at certain point, it's logic that you might hesitate. So is this the right thing for me? Am I in the right path? You don't really know. You have to just continue and check if you're happy, maybe get some internships and see how is the working environment, if this is something that you think that you might want to be in for the rest of your life or for a long period of time. I mean, I think that's it. Something that I found very interesting in today's education with the young people like you is that you have a lot of choices, which is good and bad. Because, when you have so many choices, sometimes it's hard to decide. When you don't have them, it's like, it goes for anything in life. If you have a choice between 1 and 2, you have to choose between 1 and 2. It's easier than maybe choose. But the great thing is that you can design your career. So you don't have to be like when I went to school, you have to be an architect, a lawyer, a doctor. You could even be a plumber, not even a chef at that time but you could, but you had to be like a one single profession. Now you can decide that you can be an architect / psychologist, that you can be an administrator for design business, like there is a career called career management. Before you had to do an MBA or study administration. Now you can do design management, which is management for design firms. You can do fashion and interiors. I mean, you can be a writer and an architect. You can mix and match.
Many combinations.
Yeah, you can do, and you can craft and create your own career path. So, which is great. I mean, because, this is an opportunity that's giving us all this the information that we have, all the options at the university, the fact that you guys, young people now come with a lot of information. When we were little, we didn't really have access to that much information. So you guys have a lot of, it's challenging, but it's also at the same time, it's an advantage I see. If you are focused, you can really create a beautiful career path that is crafted by yourself. And it's like always in life, you never know in life if you're going to the right direction. How do you know? You don't know. It's a trial and error,
Talking about trial and error, is there anything you think you would switch about what you studied, how you studied, or anything you did when you were younger to then further your career now? Or would you not change anything?
Well, you know what? I would not really change anything because, the things you do for a reason. What I do, as I told you, is I continue studying. So anything I feel that I didn't do, I still can do it. Life doesn't change, doesn't end. So let's say if you regret of something, or if you feel like you need some more education in certain areas, you can always go back to school, take classes, enroll in a course. Now I am learning a lot of about crypto, NFT, this technology that I found fascinating. And, so there's always room for learning. I don't believe that you should ever stop learning, because that's how you overcome the frustrations or the feeling that I should have done that. Well, no, you can still do it. You know what I mean?
No regrets.
Yeah. Regrets are really like useless. I mean, it just makes you feel bad and then you cannot fix it. So, I try not to focus on that. I try to focus on the future and the positive.
Do you have any advice for people who are in university, or they're most likely applying to university for fields of design? obviously you work at a university, so you must see a lot of different applications or different type of people. So could you just share with us a few tips that you think would help students applying to the design field?
Well, you know what? Do your research. Usually when you apply for design field, they ask for a little portfolio. So you need to have your portfolio ready. And it doesn't matter, because of course you're young, you don't have projects. But if you have in high school, like a photography project or a creative idea that you develop, I mean, the most important thing is that you are honest and authentic, because obviously a school is not expecting that you have a portfolio of a designer, because you don't. But be honest about why you like design school and try to build a portfolio. You can even have like your diary, if you maybe draw in your diary, or if you have drawings, try to collect it in an organized manner that makes sense, and tell your story. We live in the world of storytelling, so telling your story, I think it's a good exercise for you, and also for the university to kind of understand what kind of student and what kind of prospect you will be, So honesty above all is good always.
For students who are interested in the design field, but maybe they haven't taken that many classes or they're not in a school that offers that many options, how would you suggest students create a portfolio? Or if you could just give a brief explanation for everyone, what is a portfolio and what it should entail?
Well, the good news is, for example, at Parsons, there is a summer course for high school students. And this is a very good course because the students go in a period, I don't know how long it's the course, but it exposes students to different artistic areas. So if you take a class like that in a summer course, you can prepare a portfolio is a summary of your experience or your work in the creative field, So you need to have a little presentation of what the things you have done, the things that you think about. So in every student have like art classes, right? So you can add in the portfolio whatever you did in your art class. It's good to add a little, not too long, but a little explanation with a lot of graphics and a lot of visual images. And, like a tagline of what would the project entail and what did you do and if you succeeded and if you didn't. And, this is it's a portfolio. It's like let's say a diary of your experience as a creative person. So you can include their work from our art class. You can include their, like, let's say you like photography and you take pictures of things so you can make a collage. Or let's say you like, I don't know, creative baking or anything that's creative, that you can just show your creativity, because this is what schools look for. It's for creative and consistent and serious individuals. Another advice that I would give to the young people is that, sometimes we take for granted that we were accepted in a university, and there was a lot of people that was not accepted. And we don't take, because we were young, and we don't really take seriously this, because we have a lot of hormones on the way and a lot of interest outside education that maybe distract us. But what I would suggest is to focus and really take advantage of the time in school to really squeeze the orange as much as you can, because school is the best time ever. It's like, a place where you can learn and you have all the sources and access to interesting people, become friends with your classmates, try to exchange, try to learn from each other. I mean, sometimes design schools are a little competitive, but I have discovered when the students interact and intermingle, it's a much better learning environment and the students learn a lot. It's, you know, you guys learn more from each other than from your teacher. We are professors, we just give you a roadmap.
Facilitating.
Yeah, we give you a roadmap, so you go. But if you know, I always tell my students, you come to class, this is okay, you have a C, you know, you come to class and you can do your assignment and it, you know, you might get a B, but to get an A, if the assignment is go from A to B in a straight line, and this is assignment go from A to B, you do a straight line, okay, but do zigzag, you know, zigzag, and try to get from A to B in a zigzag. So explore different options, do iterations of your thinking, because it's good for you. This is not, you know, sometimes students think they're doing the work for their teachers. And it's not for the teachers, it's for you. So you explore your mind, your brain, what are you thinking? How far can your ideas go? And this is you with you. The thing is that, again, because you're too young, this kind of insight is a little profound for a young person. So that's why I'm trying to tell you here that you can look for that, and it's great because you can then explore your own capabilities and your limits, etc.
You talked about how you studied architecture in school. Can you, because I feel like architecture is special because it's not really in one category of education. You know, it's not strictly a math, not strictly an art, not strictly humanities. So can you share with us what type of things you honestly learn? Is there a lot of physics? Is there a lot of design? Is there a lot of real world interpretation? Like what type of things do you honestly do in college?
Well, you know, to teach architecture and design in general is very complicated because, you know, it's hard. So you give students certain exercises and orient them on how they can, based on what they say, you know, based on what they say, you orient them on what do you think their interest is, because, you know, it's complicated to teach design. So in design school, what you need to learn is design, you know. There are other classes that are complements, there's history, they are representation, there's some math, there's some, depending on the level also. Sophomore is not as intense as when you are a senior. But also something very, very important, and this is what I mostly teach, is representation, because you can have brilliant ideas, and if you don't know how to put them in a kind of a mean of expression, paper, computer, your ideas stay in the abstract thinking. So it's very important to learn how to put your ideas out. So
And do you use softwares like AutoCAD or SketchUp to put your ideas out, like you said? Or are there other ways that you would say resemble your ideas better?
well, you know what, and this is my theory that I have been developing for a long time, the brain is connected to your hand. So it's very important to learn how to do hand drawing. So you can just, you know, ideas are like dreams. You know, when you go to sleep and you have a dream and you wake up, and if you don't write it immediately, it's gone. Ideas work like that because it comes from your subconscious. So they disappear. So it's very important that you learn how to draw by hand and how to sketch and how to put your ideas. It's good to have a little sketchbook and a pencil with you at all times. So every time you think of something, you put it, because you start building up like a dictionary, like you know, like a database of thoughts and ideas. It's something happened with students at the beginning when they start designing, that they want to put all the ideas in one project. And, you know, I tell them, no, choose one and develop this one. And maybe in the next project you choose. And, you know, I still have ideas that I have put in my own database that I have not been able to explore because the right project has not arrived. But that's the good thing of keeping this little sketchbook and sketching. And sketching is very important. Of course, when you sketch and we learn, it's way more easy to learn all the software, you know, because when you draw, you learn what the software is doing behind the scenes, you know, because the software are created by actual drafting. So it's important to me to learn to do it by hand, you know.
And people usually are scared off or maybe just don't really know that much about what type of like math and science is entailed with architecture. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Well, this is depending on the school. I mean, you have to have basic math and basic learn structures and physics. But you know, I mean, this was really not a problem for me. You learn is you need to understand how a building gets supported, it's not to collapse. So you need to have basic laws of physics. But I guess that you guys learned this in high school, right?
Yeah.
So it's a little deeper. But it's, I mean, people get scared, oh, architecture is a lot of math. Yeah, but not specifically, you know? There is math, of course, there had to be math, but there are many, many other things that are, you know, relevant as well. As I told you, learn how to design is complicated.
Now, going back to more about you, what do you think is your favorite creation that you've had over the years?
My favorite creation is myself. You know, and my daughter. I mean, my creation. Well, I don't want to, but my favorite creation is myself because you know, you have to, as a woman, this is a male-dominated world, so you have to, you know, be there with the right attitude and with the right education so you can be taken seriously. Then, you know, as I tell you, life change, career change, so you need to be up to date, you need to study, you need to reinvent yourself. I mean, every 10 years or so, I reinvent myself. I go back and, you know, regroup, think about, okay, what I'm doing, where am I going? Is that where I want to go? So that's what I was telling you before, that I don't really have any regret because what I don't do, I just do it. So yeah, I mean, I can say without a doubt that the best creation is me, to keep up to date, to keep creative, to keep active in my career, to get, you know, projects, to be able, you know, my goal as an architect is to be able to help people, you know, to give people a life that they make them happy. It, you know, that's, I work mostly in interiors. So all these years I have been learning how people live. And, you know, I have this understanding now, and I can help people get their best life by designing the best space for them. It's a one-on-one case and in one-on-one exploration. So that's also a good creation, my methodology of try to understand the client and design a space that it's for them and it's designed to them using their lifestyle. You know, it's not me, it's not for me. So that's, you know, that's, I could say that's a good creation that I have achieved as well.
So, also, what is your biggest achievement in life or in architecture?
Well, you know, my biggest, as I say, it's staying in business all this time, continue being creative, continue helping people. You know, it's not about, I mean, projects. People ask me, what's your favorite project? I mean, I cannot, it's like asking who's your favorite child. You cannot, I cannot, because all the projects have some challenge and all the projects have some interesting things and all the projects are great to me. So yeah, so I could say that my achievement is to be able to be in business, to, to learn as much as I can, to try to be up to date to new technologies. For example, last year I did a certification on healthy materials because, the world is going through a climate change and situation that we all need to contribute. So I am taking the class because I'm teaching a material class. So I want my students to be, conscious and try to select materials that are healthy. So, that's also something that I feel proud of, that I'm always keeping myself up to date. So,
And what is something you want to see more of in your design field?
yeah, like people start working more with healthy materials. I would like to see that. I would like to see more the collaborations, more collaborations between teams. It's great to, I'm working now in my new company, EXD Architecture. We're working in the team approach. So, per every project, we build a specific team, which is great. And, this allows us to produce the best product for that specific project. So, sometimes you need like, an expert in structures. Sometimes you need an expert in a well, which is like this green field for architecture. Sometimes you need experts in audiovisuals. Sometimes you need artists. Sometimes you need, it's very interesting, like to do collaborative work. That is not only the designer or the architect.
And lastly, what is one goal or a few goals that you have for the future in architecture?
Well, as I told you before, my objective as an architect and our goal as a firm is to help as much people as possible to live well, because, you don't know what you don't know. And with all these TV shows that are encouraging, you think that you can do it in 5 minutes, something that, it's misleading. So living your best life doesn't have to be necessarily more expensive, and hire a designer to help you. It doesn't have to be like, you don't have to break the bank. You just have to learn how to use your resources wisely to create a space that you need and for a better world. I always said, people ask me, and I always said that I'm in the business of making people happy. And that sounds like, a little, but it's true because, for example, I always give this example. You're leaving your apartment and you don't find your key. Where is my key? You ask your roommate or your husband, where's my key? I don't know. I didn't see your key. Oh, I don't know where's my key. I'm running late, blah, blah. So you feel crazy because you don't find your keys. So then you go out of your apartment all stressed out, nervous, in a bad mood, because you lose precious time in trying to look for your keys that on the first place should be on a fixed place. That's about design. If everything have a place, these things don't happen. So you leave your house happy. And then the people in the elevator, you say, hello, good morning. And then you take a cab and you're happy with it, and you get to do your work and you're a happy person. And you can irradiate this good vibe that create this effect on other people. Different is if you're all cranky and you're in a bad mood and you arrive to your job in a bad mood and you're like, blah, 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 and then you irradiate that bad feeling as well. And this is something as simple as having a place for everything, and everything have a place. And the way you do that is by design. So what I like to see is to help by design create a better world. That's our goal, mine and our company.
Well, thank you so much. It was so great to have you on. I'm sure some listeners will love to contact you. Do you have a LinkedIn or a website or any place that you are best contacted at?
Yeah, we have you can please follow us in Instagram at EXD Architecture. EXD stands for Experience Your Space by Design, which is what I was explaining to you. And also Benatar and EXD architecture. And yeah, definitely you can contact us. We always post very interesting articles about better living, about space optimization, space maximization. So, you know, we are hoping that we can, again, help a lot of people live their best life by design.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Nicole. Good luck with your podcast and with your career decision.